Wilder Show podcast. Hello there. I'm Scott. That's Lauren. Hello. Lauren. Hello.
Hey.
Hi. What's going on over there on that side of the world?
Way over here? Not much.
Way over there, yeah. Is the weather good over there?
The weather's beautiful.
Yeah? Getting a little cloudy over here where I am.
It is?
We're pretty far away. If you want to find us on Instagram, we're Wilder Show Pod. That's what you search and you'll find us. If you want to send us an email, it's podcast@wildershow.com. And the Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Like, rate, follow, share, and subscribe. So
that list better not get any longer.
Right.
You're lacking the lung capacity to get out any more, to add anything to that list.
I can't do what I used to do a lot. I would be able to do what Celine Dion does and what Barbara Streisand did as singing Evergreen. I could do that. I could hold that last note forever.
Yeah.
Forever. But no more. It's a different day today. Let's talk a little local. We'll get to some political stuff in a second. But the biggest thing, it's a great sports week for me. The Masters, Scotty Scheffler is the reigning champion, and he's a Texan, of course, and we love that. And so Scotty Scheffler are going to be fun to watch. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so I don't expect to get very much done on any of those days, but especially Saturday and Sunday.
That's something that guys all over America use, right? Maybe even beyond, as an excuse to not. Yeah, this is my weekend to not get anything done.
Well, obviously we are always looking for excuses.
Let's remember who said that. That it was not. It was not me who said that.
That's okay. We on our downtime, especially sports. We have the Masters. That was great, but then the big thing that was awfully fun to watch, and I know you paid attention to this when it happened on, was it Wednesday night?
I know where you're going.
When Luka Doncic came back. Good grief. That was so fun to watch. He scored 45 points on the Mavericks. And I was really kind of hoping for, I know when we parted ways that day, I said, man, I hope LA beats the Mavericks. But then I started watching the game. I couldn't root against my home team. I have to root for my home team. But I did want Luka to have a great game, and he did have a great game. But I wanted, the Mavericks to win. That would have been nice. I'm such not a LeBron fan. And anyway, but at the beginning of the game, they had that wonderful tribute to Luka. Oh, my lands. And Luka gets all teary-eyed. He's like wiping his eyes.
It was very touching.
Oh, my goodness. It was really something. I was watching that as it was occurring, and they introduced player number 1 for the Los Angeles Lakers, so and so, yay, 2, number 3, number 4, and they go to the video screen. It's a 3-minute or 4-minute tribute, and never in my life have I seen something where a former star. Now, granted, he didn't leave on his own accord, but a former star who was returning for the first time to his home team would then receive such accolades and such tribute.
Well, part of that was he didn't want to leave.
No, that's
too.
true.
That's why it's so easy for him to still be celebrated here. Not only do the Mavericks miss him, the fans miss him. He didn't want to leave. So it's like it's it's like you said, you don't want the Lakers to win, but you want to see him do well. You kind of want to give it a little bit to the guy who let him go. Like this is So this is what you wanted. Mm-hmm. This is who you wanted to let go.
Nico is in hot water. But listen, since Cuban sort of gave up his majority position or whatever it is there, it's gone. We have a different group in charge. Just mark my words. We are moving toward casino gambling, and these folks are very much interested in a lot of stuff like that. There's even talk about if you moved the Mavericks, they built a new stadium, want to move it here because that would also be closer to something else. It would be perhaps near a casino that's going to be built. I mean, it's a mess. And part of that mess was Luka. And Nico got rid of Luka, and people were upset. I mean, they were even chanting Fire Nico, fire Nico, fire Nico at the game.
This might be too much to get into here, but when you say part of that mess was Luka, I don't understand that.
I mean, part of the mistakes that have been made under the new ownership has been the debacle of the trade.
I thought you meant that Luka somehow was standing in the way of what they wanted those next things to be in the casino gambling and moving the Mavericks and all of that.
No, not at all. No, he's great. We miss him. And but he did play lights out, man. And watching every time he had the ball, I was like, please don't, please don't. Please don't make, there he goes again. And it was really, really something. So anyway, we were glad to have him back. We welcomed him home. Yes, this is home, Luka. And you are always welcome here. Always, right? We always welcome Luka Doncic here. And we want him to come back. The weird part was when you watch the game, the home field advantage was gone because every time he touched the ball, all the Lakers fans were really, really cheering.
Right.
And all the Mavericks fans were really cheering.
Really cheering.
So both sides were really pushing for Luka to do well, and he did. So it was fun to see him. But, gosh, we miss you, Luka, and come back anytime. We want you to come back for real. Got to get rid of that one guy first, though. Now, I'm not going to spend, Lauren, very much time on the whole thing. The stock market's been up. The stock market's been down. I mean, it was a crazy beginning of the week, and then there was a record 7.4% of what a gain or increase, and then it went down again.
Back down again. Is it down again today?
It's down a little bit down today, and the end of the week is going to, who knows what the end of the week, how it's going to end. But so I don't want to ride that wave for the reasons we talked about before. I do want, though, to say that it's really interesting to watch how people on both sides deal with what the president has done, President Trump and the tariffs. And, of course, for those who are not paying attention, and by the way, congratulations. I wish I could be in the same boat to not pay attention to this.
That's how you spend your 137 minutes a day or whatever it is that Gen Z is spending worrying.
Worrying out.
You are not worrying maybe, but you are spending those minutes.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So they're going somewhere.
They're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's I would just say that when President Trump puts out the tariffs and insanity ensues, mayhem ensues, and then when he changes that and pushes it out in 90 days, isn't it interesting that when the stock market goes crazy good, on the left, they will say, look, this guy, he's flip-flopping again. He's not holding to his tariffs. I thought you hated the tariffs, I would say to them. Why isn't it good that he... And the other thing is, if people don't believe that you're really going to do something... Did you see Kramer versus Kramer?
I did.
Do you remember the thing where the little boy is going to eat the ice cream? Right? Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. If you do it, this is going to happen. If you don't you do it. Don't you do it. And the little boy just digs a big thing of ice cream
into the ice cream and
sticks it in his mouth.
Right in his mouth.
He didn't really believe Dustin Hoffman was going to do it. Right?
Probably
not. He wasn't really afraid.
No.
He wasn't afraid of Dustin Hoffman. If he had been afraid of Dustin Hoffman, if that little boy had believed that Dustin Hoffman was going to show him what for, he would have been more likely to obey him.
Right.
The behavior would have comported. When you have these things that are going on, and Donald Trump says, this is what we're going to do. These are the tariffs. We're going to fix these things that have been wrong for so long. And people freak out. And then he says, you know what? We're going to pause it. We'll give you 90 days. We'll try and work these things out. We're going to negotiate some things. It's amazing how things kind of come around. But this is what we've said all along. Now, you say, well, but listen, it was so confusing because everyone around him was saying, there's no way he's going to negotiate. This is for real. This is for real. And the president was interviewed, and the president said, well, you know, we could probably talk about it. So you see, even the administration, they don't even have their story straight. Imagine what it'd be like to have to work for such a president. It's like, dude, this is the way you get stuff done. This is the way.
Everything is a negotiation to some extent, right? It is.
Everything is a negotiation to this guy. And I'm not saying that critically or in a congratulatory way. It just is. Everything is a negotiation. So when you have this happen, and people say, "Oh, now he's trying to say this was his plan all along." It's like, okay, just everybody remember July 20th, right? July 20th is going to be 6-month mark. And we'll take a look at everything.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, I know.
A few times ago when we talked about this, right?
I'm just saying, just remember. So anytime this comes up, you can actually just get away with dog-earing the page and moving to the next page by saying, we're going to talk about this on July the 20th. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about egg prices on July 20th. We'll talk about this on July 20th. We'll look and see, are we, and by the way, that's not the end game. Just because things are better on that day doesn't mean yay for your side. Because it's bad, boo for that side. Mm-hmm. It's ongoing, but it takes time. So let's give it until then. I do want to say this, though, about China. I've been to 3 communist countries. China several times. Yeah. Been to Russia. Been to communist Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you a story about losing face. When President Trump says we're going to do this, and then China says, oh, then we're going to do this. And it's sort of escalation, right? So it's really like a trade war. You're going to impose this on us, then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. It keeps going up. Now, remember, China, the problem is we don't get to sell as much stuff of ours in China as they sell of theirs in America.
Right.
They have tariffs on our stuff, and they don't accept some of our stuff. We accept a lot of their stuff and have very low tariffs. Trump is saying 5 times the stuff that we get to sell there, they sell here 5 times. Mm-hmm. So even if the tariffs were exactly the same, it hurts them more than it hurts us.
Right.
Right. So, but here's a little story about losing face. When I was in China and we were talking to our friends there, hosts there, have you ever you've been to a Chinese restaurant before?
Yes.
And you've been to, I think, we were together at some Chinese restaurant, maybe out in, I don't know, maybe in San Francisco or maybe in Seattle, where they have the big lazy Susan in the middle of the table.
Oh yeah,
and they just keep bringing food in.
That was San Francisco, I think.
And they keep bringing food in, and they just keep piling it in, and they sort of mudge this bowl out of the way, and this we'll combine these, and they keep in that society. If all the food is gone, the meaning is that the host has not provided enough food. Mm-hmm. So there will never not be lots of leftovers at a real Chinese restaurant or at a Chinese home. They will always keep piling the food on, keep piling it on. Always leftovers, always. So they have this huge sort of lazy Susan. Is that what it's called? The plate that turns around and you can spin it around and get what you want. We told this story, and it was trying to explain about the losing of face. And this applies to this whole thing with tariffs, because the Chinese people, the Asian people, it's not racist. It's actually the way it is. It may be racial, but it's not racist. Losing face is a big deal there. Mm-hmm. You almost would do anything to not lose face.
To avoid it. Yeah.
To that point. We told this story. We were at a restaurant, Lazy Susan, and they had brought out food. Now, sometimes the food in other countries actually looks like the food that was previously walking or swimming around. Mm-hmm. It still has its head and still has
like fish.
A fish would be like a whole fish, eyes and everything. Uh-huh. Or a chicken would be the chicken with the head and the beak and everything. It's like all looking right at you, or sort of looking at you. We were at this dinner, and this gentleman was telling a story. He said, so much so is it important not to lose face. He said and he told the story of working for a company, and they had invited a lot of their managers out to a luncheon. And they had a chicken, and it was the chicken's face was still there. And the boss turned the Lazy Susan around where that chicken was facing one of the employees.
I remember this story.
And then they began to eat dinner, or began to eat the lunch. And nobody said anything. And the whole point of that story was the boss pointing the head of that chicken at that employee was telling that employee that you are fired.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to embarrass you. You will not lose face.
In front of all of these people.
That's right. They had a nice luncheon, had the nice lunch and all. So isn't that an interesting and odd story about how important it is not to lose face in that. So when you try and shame, the worst thing you can do in that part of the world is to try and shame someone that is from that part of the world. And that relates to this because I don't think we want to get into a deal where we're shaming the leader of China. That's not a good idea because they will literally let all the rules go. They will go to the ends of the earth not to be shamed. Got to go to war? We'll go to war. Yeah, just keep feeding people to the fodder, the cannon fodder. We don't care. We are not going to be shamed. Shaming the Asian people, particularly the Chinese, is a very bad thing. It is not something you want to do. Now, I don't think he's going to do that. I saw President Trump, even I think yesterday, talk about, hey, I like President Xi, and she is a friend of mine, and we've developed a close. Look, they're going to work everything out. It's like driving down the road. We drive down the road at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour.
Right.
I don't want to get in a wreck with them. They don't want to get in a wreck with me. It's sort of a mutual. We know it's bad. If I do the wrong thing or they do the wrong thing, we both lose. So even driving down the road, somebody driving right now down the road, you have sort of an unspoken agreement with all the people you've never met. They're all around you. And it is, we have these sort of rules of the road. If you kind of veer into my lane, I'm going to give you a little grace. If you have to go in front of me, I'm going to give you a little grace. If we have to merge, I'm going to give you a little grace. If I have to merge with you, you're going to give me a little grace. Because I don't want to wreck with you. You don't want to wreck with me. So we have this sort of unspoken agreement. And I think in the same way, this stuff is going to work itself out.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. But the truth is, there's been a trade imbalance with China forever. They get access to our markets in ways we don't get access to their markets. And it's not just a matter of, well, don't we really like to buy Hello Kitty or whatever it is that they're pumping out of their factories, and they don't really want to buy our stuff. So maybe it's not really their fault. No, it's their fault. It's absolutely their fault. We do not have access to their markets in ways we give them access to our markets. And so I think it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work itself out. I would not threat a bit.
Have you heard of something called Campus Guardian Angels?
Campus Guardian Angel, is that where the boys walk the girls to their car after dark?
No, that's a really sweet idea, though. I think that does exist, right?
Oh, sure
It's just called something different.
Else,
no.
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember House Bill 3 in Texas, 2023 state law.
Okay.
Requires an armed officer on every Texas campus. Now, more than half of Texas...
hold on real quick. You say for every Texas campus. You're talking about elementary,
and junior high school. Sorry,
Okay.
I did not clarify
that's right.
that.
Gotcha.
Half of Texas school districts, though, have requested waivers known as good cause exemptions, which explain why a particular district can't meet those requirements, and it tells you, this is our alternative, all kinds of different reasons.
Ways around.
Most of them, though, are that the $15,000 per campus and $10 per student that HB 3 gave districts on a yearly basis is just not enough to pay for an armed guard, a full-time armed guard with benefits. So they've tried to find other ways around this. Now, that's not a problem for some school districts if they have enough money to do the rest of it, on their own. Then the armed guard is no problem. But there's an Austin-based startup, Campus Guardian Angels, that wants to put camera and speaker-equipped remote-controlled drones in schools.
Like flying drones?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I wish maybe we can post a picture of this on our Instagram just so people can see this.
Sure.
They're drones that would be kept inside the schools. They did a demonstration just earlier this week at University Park Elementary School in the Highland Park ISD. Now, Highland Park ISD and this University Park Elementary School, they actually do have an armed guard there. But they were asked, the district's police chief had requested a demo of this Campus Guardian Angel, so they came there and did their demonstration. So the way that it works is that these remote piloted drones would help secure a school until guards or police arrive.
Okay.
So if the school knows that there is a threat,
like a lockdown or whatever.
Yes. Okay. If the school has been compromised, then Campus Guardian Angel is contacted. They release these drones, and they said that like within 60 seconds, they can neutralize a shooter until the police can get there.
Okay, let me ask some questions here. So is it like one of those things where there's an alarm company somewhere and they will, I mean, the drones are where they can do it. So some person is there in Austin or wherever, and we're here at the headquarters and we're standing by and we get a whoop, 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 and the alert, and you go, okay, run to the computer and you bring up the release the who let the drones out.
Exactly.
And then they're on a joystick looking for the shooter at the Covenant Christian School or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you find her and you just get her in a corner and say, stop doing that or whatever. How do they make her not do what she's doing?
Each drone carries a flash crack, which is a loud firecracker, like a distracting bang. Yeah. So that's a distraction.
Okay.
It can also shoot pepper spray.
Yeah.
Finally, the drone itself, it's not lethal, but it can become a weapon. Because, so they said if you get hit at 60 to 70 miles an hour by a drone, it's not lethal, but it can cause significant injury. And they said we would send multiple waves of those until the person is incapacitated or until law enforcement arrives.
Okay, so you'd have we see multiple of those. So here's the thing: it's got to be LiDAR. It's got to be like it's a radar, but it's a LiDAR. Because otherwise, how would it know the map of the school? So it's got to know that. It's got to be able to go up the stairs and down the stairs.
I'm sure.
All around. And so you got to have more than one. Obviously, they have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, but maybe 8. Maybe it's a bank of 10 or something. And they're all sitting there always charging and waiting for somebody in Austin to get on the joystick and say, let's go get them or whatever.
I'm sure it does depend on this. How many you would need would depend on the size of the school. But the way they're sold is it's $15,000 for a box of 6. So they come in a box of 6, and then plus $4 a student. So I guess that would match.
$4 a student. You mean,
so here's the deal. Remember when I said HB3 gave districts $15,000 per campus and $10 per student? This is $15,000 for a box of 6 plus $4 a student.
Okay, so basically they took the number and they said, if you can't get this, then we'll charge exactly what it costs. And so instead of having a person that then you have to get benefits and all this kind of stuff with these little critters that we plug in, and the amount for exactly what the government has gifted
for
your district.
HB3 allowance for this. Yeah.
It'd be like saying, whatever your mom and dad pays you an allowance, that's exactly what I'll charge you for a bike. That's it.
The drones have been tested in some Florida districts, but also here in Bernie ISD. And the security chief, they're not. Nobody's saying that they replace.
Sure, I understand.
They take the place of a live armed
like a dog.
guard.
Yeah, it's like a dog.
Yes,
but you don't have to feed it or anything. Or crate it.
Right.
It's like a dog, but it's not like you have like 6 of them. You have a 6-pack of drones. And that's really interesting. I'll tell you,
I just thought it was fascinating.
I will post a picture of exactly KVUE TV TV in Austin. I think has the news piece on this. So we'll post a screenshot of that.
And if you are interested in more of this and you can't find it online, I will send you a link to it if you shoot us an email to podcast@wildershow.com.
We get emails, so thank you for your emails. Got some this week. Somebody wanted a story, and so here's the link to the story.
Send it right out.
Yeah, happy to do it. So podcast@wildershow.com. The ballerina that was released, did you see?
I did.
The girl that was, I can't pronounce her first name. Last name is Catalina, I think. And she's a dual citizen, Russian and U.S. See which country you think she will choose maybe as the better of the two. One arrested her for under anti-hooliganism laws.
So
anti-hooliganism laws.
And do we know exactly what she did?
No.
What got her that charge?
Well, I'll tell you what she did in a second, but just one quick aside. In communist countries, they have laws that are so they can arrest you for anything. And they can say you are working against the public good.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I spit on the ground, or it could be anything.
Yeah.
And then they lock you up and they try and find other things. Ultimately, what she was really in trouble for is she had made a charitable donation to a Ukrainian charity. And she made, let's see what strikes you. The amount of her gift was $51.80. What does that tell you?
$51.80 that she paid the service fee.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So she gave $50 to this Ukrainian charity. Remember, she's Russian,
right,
and American, but she gave $51.80. She was sentenced to 14 years in jail.
No way.
14 years in jail. Now, she was freed this week on Thursday. She was set free. Now, which of the two countries do you think it gets her the thumbs up? Is it the one that put her in jail under the anti-hooliganism laws? My
goodness.
Or the one that set her free?
I got a pretty good guess on that.
Isn't that something? And, of course, President Trump also got, was it Mark Fogel?
Yes.
So, I mean, these things that happen, you think, well, it is not lost on me that some of these little things, if you can keep communication open with Putin, you still believe he's this or that or the other. But we have people over there that we want to get out of there. We have things we want him to do that only he can do.
Right.
We need him to do certain things. This is one of those things. So in addition to Mark Fogel, who you remember that story, he was in prison since 2021, and it would have been, I think, a 14 or 15 year prison sentence, and he was freed. And then now this ballerina also freed. So, yeah, it doesn't mean Trump is right on everything, but it does mean, I think these are two things. In both cases, those people were in prison. Certainly Fogel was in prison during the Biden administration. And I know that they got some people out, but they didn't get Fogel out, and Fogel's out, and that's a good thing. So. Oh, it is time for Scattershoot.
Have you ever walked into a coffee shop or maybe the grocery store, great example of this, and heard the music playing there and thought, I like this music.
Yeah.
They made this playlist just for me.
I've experienced that several times.
You know, people go to great lengths. Businesses go to great lengths to compile those playlists for certain purposes. You know, one playlist is going to get you to be really relaxed in a cafe and stay and drink more coffee.
Right.
Another playlist is going to be designed specifically to make you move through the grocery store at a certain pace. I would love to know more about the science of that. But it turns out that the background music that is typically programmed to please customers means that the employees are hearing that same thing over and over and over again. And what is really satisfying and good for your customers can lead to terrible things for your employees.
Well, that does make sense. I've been to places where, I thought, I heard this same song yesterday at the same time or whatever. But isn't that part of, you're getting paid? So isn't it really, that's really sort of, it's not about playing your own personal music.
No, it's not.
This is about either making the people that you want to be relaxed and drink more coffee, or the people to be productive and buy more stuff at the grocery store. I mean, if one less bell to answer makes somebody buy more frozen goods at the grocery store, or if Alone Again naturally makes people spend more time in the bakery section of the grocery store, it doesn't matter what the baker prefers. He can listen to that on his own
Ultimately,
own car.
I don't think this is to coddle workers or anything like that. Ultimately, you probably have to push through it or get earphones or something like that. I think it's just something for employers to be aware of. They gave one example, a stockroom worker who's trying to stay motivated during repetitive tasks. He might really need energetic music or benefit from, not need energetic music, but might benefit from energetic music. But instead, he gets lulled by, slow, relaxing melodies that are meant to make the customers in the store browse longer.
When I worked at the grocery store, and in those days it was Muzak. So you were really getting it was like overdosing on like generic Kenny G.
Yeah. Can Kenny G get more generic than Kenny G already was?
So it's like that. It was like, really, seriously? And so we would have our little radios in the back room, and we would listen more quietly, but to the things that would get us a little more motivated to unload trucks and do, hard work or be more efficient. But in the grocery store, it was all, the piano version of whatever song.
Well, when employees can't hear what they need, two things can happen. Their positive emotions drop. They experience more mental fatigue. And then these changes can affect how they behave toward their workplace. They're less likely to go, you're going to hate this, they're less likely to go above and beyond and more likely to slack off or break minor rules.
Well, I have a word for those folks.
I know.
That's, you can really do whatever you want to do. If you want to not work, that's okay. You just can't not work and make money from our organization.
Yeah.
It's I'm perfectly fine with you not working, but you can't not work while working here. That's just the way it goes. Like, let me say an interesting thing that this goes from my business school days that they had done. It was a factory. So we don't do factories anymore. We kind of ship all that out to people we'll never meet, who live in other countries, who do all the sweatshop stuff. But there was a factory, and in the factory, the workers, their productivity would, lull. Like I call about 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. I call it the valley of the day.
Yeah,
it's the valley of the day, and so
after lunch.
Yeah, it's just like everything's gone. It's like, when is this over? What the management found out was if they changed the temperature in the factory, like 2 degrees. Every some interval.
Yeah.
The productivity popped back up. So, and it didn't matter. This was the interesting part. It didn't matter whether you changed it this way or changed it this way. Really? It was the changing of it that spurred people on. It was almost like winding people up again. If you did that. Not to manipulate them, but just to find out. It was a science experiment that was done way back in the Industrial Revolution.
Wow.
And they had discovered that you can actually encourage the people to be more productive. You just
like maybe I'm so cold, if I can just get my work done and get out of here quicker, I'll feel better.
This is the strange part. It was imperceptible. The workers couldn't tell, I'm hotter, I'm colder. But there were changes that were made across the factory, and their productivity would change.
Well,
that little bit of difference would be enough for them to sort of jostle awake again.
I think this might be kind of the same thing. Obviously, nobody is choosing. They're not choosing this music based on what is best for the workers. They're choosing it. They're looking in the direction of profits.
Or what makes people buy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it might not even be that the workers are hearing this music and thinking, I can't get my work done to this music. It's an imperceptible thing that when the music is more upbeat, the people in the back room who are stocking things are moving at a more brisk pace. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, interesting. One other thing, this is unrelated, as the kids would say, random. When you get in the car or in your home on a warm day, what is the first thing you do? You turn on the
air conditioner.
Right. We call it air conditioning. We don't call it air cooling. We call it air conditioning.
Well, is that because it really, like when we heat the house, it really does heat the house. But when we condition the air, we're pulling the humidity out of it.
We are.
And that's what actually does the cooling. Is that
well, that's not
right?
all that is. There is a cooling. There's a coolant. You have a coolant.
Yeah.
So we're not simply pulling the humidity out of the air, but that is actually how we got the word conditioning. It was back in the cotton gin factories. And what they found was the humidity. When you take cotton and then you stretch it out and make it into thread, because of humidity, that thread would pop. And they could not create the thread. So they had to take the humidity out of the room.
Right.
And the way they did that was to condition the air.
Okay.
And in those days, what they did was they had blocks of ice behind huge fans. And the cooling of the air would condition the air.
I do remember
and
this.
they called it air conditioning. And even though today, while it's true we take the humidity out of the air, believe me, when you come into your house at the end of the day, it's 92 degrees outside, you're not looking going, gosh, it is so humid in here. Let's get the humidity down to 51%.
No.
They go, make it cool.
Why? What would we have called it? Would we say, like, now if we say, turn on the heater, would we say turn on the cooler? Turn on the colder.
That interesting?
Doesn't sound right, does it?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And it's as long as I'm on this ridiculous rabbit hole, the water that we have, it's labeled hot and what?
Hot and cold.
Yeah, but it's not cooled. It's never cooled.
It's just water.
It's whatever it is.
It's whatever the temperature is that's coming out of the...
That's right. So the hot water is heated, but the cold, the C on the right-hand side, I think, that is never cooled. It simply is whatever it is. And in Texas, in the middle of the summer, it is not even cool.
And if you've lived here for a very long time, or maybe even if you're native and you go someplace else during the summer and you turn on the cold water and it really is cold, you wouldn't even know that other places were different. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. One more little thing on this music thing. The thing that's interesting about it, I think, is that the researchers who found in this case that the music can have such an impact on workers' productivity, what they wonder is that having a bigger effect on workers' productivity than the music that they've programmed for the customers to actually buy more is? Are they losing more money in workplace, in a lack of productivity, than they are gaining by playing the music that they think is going to get their customers to spend more money?
And who knows? I mean, there is a way to know. It's like, I know we're totally scattershooting here. Good thing we're in scattershoot. But do you know that not a single bakery in a grocery store is profitable? Every bakery in a grocery store loses money.
I only know this because you've told me this before.
This is a fascinating thing. You talk about the different things that combine, but not a single bakery in a grocery store is profitable. It does not add a dime to the profit of the grocery store directly. However, every grocery store that has a bakery is more profitable.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that a fun, weird thing?
And that's just because people don't want to go to a grocery store that doesn't have a bakery.
Even if they're not. On the positive, they do want to go to one that does have one.
Yeah.
It's not they say, I'm not going there, they don't have one. But they are attracted to one that does have one. I don't buy that much in the bakery section of a grocery store. I don't buy any of the sweets. I don't buy any of the breads, or certainly not donuts or anything like that. But I do like that it's there.
Yeah.
Now I buy some of the cheeses and the things that are in that same area. I like that. Some of the crackers.
That's a deli, though, right?
That's more deli.
Considered
that's
different?
true.
Yeah,
that's true. That's more deli. Anyway, so but I like that it has one. When I've been out of town and I go to a different place that I've never been to before, and I walk in, it's like, they have a bakery. This is a place I want to be.
I don't really even know that are there that many groceries? I guess there are some grocery stores, some chains now maybe that don't even have bakeries. You
love this phrase. In the olden days, that was a big deal to add a bakery. They didn't have bakeries. The people brought in the rack jobbers. What do they call them? They would bring in the bread item and put the bread aisle.
Yeah.
But you didn't have a bakery. You had a deli. You had a deli and you had the produce section. And that's about it. You didn't have people baking bread. Maybe you had somebody making cakes. You might have had some cake people.
Do you remember we were in Cleveland for work last fall, and we were in an older neighborhood, which I said really reminded me of the places, some of the neighborhoods that we had lived in years ago when I was young. We lived in Chicago, and then the places we'd go back to visit when my cousins and aunts and uncles continued to live in those same near Chicago suburbs. And what we always had growing up in those places were bakeries. They're like Main Street bakeries. And usually there was more than one. And that's where you went for your bread. And that's where you went for your cookies. And if somebody was having a birthday, that's where you went for the cake. And I really don't remember. I don't remember if the grocery stores even as a rule then had bakeries.
Well, they I know they didn't used to have a butcher.
Because you had a butcher on the main street.
You did
too.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had the baker and you had the butcher, and then the grocery store. Maybe the butcher would deliver some of the meat, prepackaged meat for the grocery store, or they get it on a truck. But there was nobody, waiting there to. It's full service, but it does sort of edge out the mom and pops that did the bakery and the butcher work.
This is so sad. Anybody younger than what, 40, 50 who's listening to us right now has no idea what we're talking about. Okay. But when I think about it in terms of, kind of the charm of that, I also think of what a job it was to have to go to all those different places for the things your family needed.
But that was the life, wasn't it?
It was.
That was a life. And maybe in those days, you had, a dad that was working and working outside the home and a mom that was primarily inside the home. And so part of the tasks were to go get these things done, go to the grocery shopping, go to the baker, go to the butcher,
bakery.
And go to the different places and get the things and make sure the dinner. And that sounds really sort of maybe even offensively old school, but It was a simple time. I'm not saying it was without effort. I mean, it was simple in some ways. And it was a good time to be a guy because he didn't do any of that stuff for the most part.
Well, the funny thing is,
complained about stuff that didn't get done.
I think we look back at it now and we think about how I did catch that, by the way. We look back at that now and we think of how charming that was at the time. When those things started to, when your grocery store now all of a sudden had a butcher shop and your grocery store now had a bakery, that was probably life-changing for women predominantly, not only women, but who spent so much of their time doing those things for their families. And now we look at it and we think, that's so sweet, so charming, bygone era.
I want to clarify something. When I said the guys will come home and complain about stuff that isn't done, I meant that as an insult to guys.
Oh, I know.
Not to women.
I know.
You're not doing anything, and all you really
could do. But an implication that there was ever a day
not at all.
Not everything
I didn't mean that at all.
done.
I meant no, not at all. I meant I'm not doing anything, and then I'm going to complain about one of the 10 things didn't get done. It's like 9 things got done, dude. You didn't have to do any of them. You're welcome. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. Just one more thing. We do invite you to join us on the music side. We have the great pleasure of joining you, give you music in the morning from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on something called The Light. And you can find it online at turnonthelight.com. But the easiest thing to do is to get the app. That's what I do. You do that too, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Get the app. It's so easy. Just anywhere you get your apps, just go there and search The Light DFW, L-I-G-H-T, The Light DFW. And then you can make sure you subscribe or like or rate or share.
Another great thing about the app is it works with your Apple CarPlay too. So you listen to it wherever you are, and then when you get in the car, you listen to it just like it's the radio or any other app that you use for listening purposes.
So we'll see you weekday mornings, 5 to 9 a.m. And get the app and follow us there. And for those who love the podcast, we love you for that. We love you for loving us. That's kind of a very 21st century, isn't it? I love you if you love me.
No, I didn't get that at all.
Instagram. You can find us on Instagram. Just search Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find us. If you want to send us an email, we love that. Very needy. Love to hear from you. Podcast at wildershow.com. And you find us online, of course, at wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time or before. Many times I put it out, Lauren, before. I know you know that.
I do.
Mm-hmm. It's true. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And I think is that it for this time?
I think that's it for this time.
Okay. We'll see you again. Guardian angels. They're not real angels.
They're not. The weight of worry.
The weight of worry?
The weight of worry.
W-A-I-T or W-E-I-G-H-T?
E-I-G-H-T.
The weight of worry. Man, I'm in for some good court TV in the days ahead. This one, the Karen Reed thing coming back.
Yeah.
There's no way she did it. I can tell. Karen Reed. She didn't do it.
I'm sure she didn't.
Sometimes you can tell.
Some people can. We could talk about the moral cost of cats. It's not going to make people really mad about cats, right?
You can kill feral cats. We can't wait them out. We have things going on. We're people. Go ahead, Lauren. Make enemies.
What do you think?
If you're a feral hog, it's fair game. If you're rooting everything up, if you're a feral cat, fair game. Feral dog, fair game. Might draw the line with people, but
I promise I'll do a bad dog story next week.